Today we've got James from Rolo Tomassi. You guys actually have probably become one of my most listened to bands over the last maybe 2 or 3 years. What's funny to me is, you guys have been around for a while, and for whatever reason, I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable, even if there's bands I'm not like the biggest fan of, or just don't listen to. I feel like any like heavy band that has had any sort of like little bit of success over the last like 15, 20 years, I feel like I've at least heard of them. And for whatever reason, up until like 2 or 3 years ago, I genuinely had no idea that you all ever existed. But there was a tweet that went, I don't know if we would say it went viral, but like there was a tweet that came up that that had a video of you all. Probably back in the MySpace days, like it would probably been one of your guys' first years, and I think it looks like, I could be wrong, it looks like you're playing in like a Hot Topic. And you all literally look like middle schoolers. And then all of a sudden Eva's voice just goes, the way she's able to scream, and you're like, wait, how is that voice able to come out of that, like almost looks like a middle schooler body? And you just all like, you dress the part of like, 2007 or whenever that was. I don't know, but for whatever reason, I saw that video and I'm like, this is just the most amazing like 2007 video I've ever seen in my life. I need to like find out more about this band. So I started digging into you guys' discography and then realizing like, oh my God, like you guys just like every album just felt like it got a little better and a little better. And I'm like, how did I miss you all? I just don't know how. But anyway, with that said, like over the last 2 or 3 years, you guys have become one of my most listened to bands on Spotify, and just a huge fan at this point. So I don't know if you know what video I'm talking about, James.
Of course I
but,
do. Yeah.
It just is so cool to me.
Yeah,
I think it's amazing.
it's it's really strange because that video, I guess, like you said, it's not didn't necessarily go viral, but it definitely is like had a bit of a moment in the last few years. And it seems that over the last few years, every 6 months, someone else will find it, whether that's like a meme page or something, and repost it like with a different kind of like funny caption. But the cool thing for us is it seems to actually be reaching people that want to hear it. It's not just like people that are watching it being like, haha, that's like funny, how ridiculous. It's like people that want to dig in and kind of take something from it. But like you said, for me seeing it now, it's this bizarre time capsule, like something that was probably like 18 years ago. And
Wow.
it's so dated from like how we're dressed, like how we look, how the band sounds.
The
Um,
fact that it's in a Hot Topic like that.
Right. So it was in a vintage clothes store in London called Beyond Retro, which is still there. I think I can't remember which branch it was at. There's a few of them, and they used to do free shows on Saturday, like a matinee. You would like bands would get invited to play, and the person that was booking it was like really into heavy music. So like every Saturday, it would be like really heavy, interesting bands that would go and play, and the bands would get paid in clothes. So like we got no money for it, but we all got like to pick out like a certain amount of like money values worth of clothes, which again is just so funny thinking back to it. But I think in time we've kind of like reaped the benefits of maybe not having any sort of financial compensation for the show at the time by the fact that it's just got such incredible mileage and is still reaching people now. So yeah, it's like it's a cool thing. Like I don't mind that it's doing what it's doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Paid in
Well,
clothes. I got to
it
imagine
it
that.
reached me.
I got to imagine that those clothes are probably the most influential set of clothes you've probably ever worn.
I
Even if
mean,
you never actually wore it on stage, right?
well, this is it. And I mean, you can see how badly we're dressed in the video. I'm sure you can only imagine how horrendous it was what we picked out. So yeah, it's not in rotation anymore anyway.
Okay, good.
Y'all should like, maybe it could be Furnace Fest, but like you guys should just like dress up like that again, like just total scene
Yeah.
look for a show, and just go all
Yeah,
in, and try to almost like recreate that video. It'd be hilarious.
possibly. I mean, we've been relearning that song. So this year is it's our 20th anniversary of being a band was last month, and we're kind of like for some of the shows we're doing in the UK, we've been kind of diving back into the archives. We've not played that song like at least for 15 or 16 years.
Wow.
There are members in the band now who joined like after we stopped playing that song who have no idea how to play it, but we've been relearning it because it was just like it seems to be this thing that's just reached so many people, and we want to do like a set that is I don't know, just kind of demonstrative of the way that the band has changed over time, basically. And we were kind of like, well, we've got to learn that because I think a lot of people have sort of that might have been their entry point, or at least it's going to sort of resonate with people. So we're not quite there yet. Everyone's kind of learning it in their own time, and we'll come together and try and play it. But it's so different to the current material that yeah, it's been a bit of an ask. Like the muscle memory's totally gone for me. Like I had to really like ask for the stems for the guy that produced the record, and it was a miracle that he had the track separates because, you know, again, this was something we recorded probably 2007, and he did, which was great. So I've kind of just been very slowly piecing it together, but I can just about play it on my own. But yeah, we'll see about playing it as a group.
What a
That's
wonderful
awesome.
little piece of amnesia. I think I remember kind of a similar story, except it happened the next day that they forgot it. You two, I think, recorded Joshua Tree, most of Joshua Tree in one day, but they were all drunk off their ass and couldn't remember how to play it the next day. And they had to like spend like the next month trying to remember how to figure out how to play all the parts again.
Wow. I mean, yeah, we weren't drunk at the time, but I think 18 years of drinking since the recording is probably like what's contributed to the
It's a little residual.
do you know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, it's over time. So all bought and paid for. Yeah.
I imagine so. Well, that was, fairly early on in your guys' history. Yeah, I'd love to just hear like how the band formed for you all.
So the band formed, it would have been around 2005. Everyone was aged between 14 and 16. We were still at school.
Wow.
We were a group of like just very enthusiastic teenagers who loved music, and we started just getting into heavier music, having sort of been into like, I guess, fairly like entry level punk music. And it was kind of at a time when everyone was sort of just discovering things and sharing things. And I think we all sort of got into slightly different strains of like heavier kind of next step on in music, and kind of wanted to do something that sounded like that was a bit more aggressive and chaotic and just more reflective of what we thought was exciting, really. And we'd played in a couple of bands even before that, like for a couple of years, and that was kind of like bands doing like Green Day and the Living End covers, and just people like just learning how to play instruments with a group of people. Basically, I wouldn't necessarily call it being in a band; it was learning how to play an instrument. But we would do shows locally, for our friends. There was like bars that I mean, looking back on it now, I've got no idea why we were allowed to be in them as people that were like 14 and 15, and like most of them have closed, and it's kind of, yeah, that stands to reason now. But yeah, so we'd had experience playing live, so we kind of knew how to put a show on to like some shoddy degree. So we formed this band and yeah, just started putting on shows. And I think you touched on it earlier, like we were very fortunate. This was around sort of the advent of MySpace, and we immediately had this platform that we were able to sort of reach people and find kind of like-minded people outside of Sheffield, the town that grew up in, and were based at the time. And we were able to kind of have a showcase for our music, and people were able to find it and contact us. And we would just, yeah, self-book kind of, I wouldn't even call them tours now, but like runs of shows locally. Like we were quite lucky where we were from, there were a bunch of like bigger towns with sort of stronger local music scenes within like a couple of hours drive. So we just played as much as we could, and just, I mean, it's one of those things. Looking back on it now, it's really easy to be like, well, yeah, it just snowballed, and we recorded 6 records and toured the world. But like, it honestly felt so organic and natural, and I'm probably sort of like missing out a lot just because of memory and nostalgia or whatever. But yeah, like we kind of started with sort of just very pure reasons of just being people that liked music, and we were just able to kind of, yeah, carve out a niche and find the people that wanted to listen to it. And there's a lot of relentless persistence in that, and a lot of sort of failed experiments, and hope low points as well as high points. But yeah, that's kind of the early years anyway.
What really strikes me is that, I mean, you guys had an incredible sense of understanding of your instruments even early on. And I mean, it's only evolved as time has gone on, but I mean, for people being 14, 15, 16 years old and playing like that, it seems much, much, much more mature. Like if I think about like my high school days, Mason and I's high school days, You guys would have been like the ones smoking cigarettes well before anyone else, and drinking at somebody's garage or something like that. Like, and just having some sort of extra musical knowledge by, I don't know, were you guys classically trained and stuff like that as well, or?
Yeah, a few of us were. I think we were really lucky at the time. So the group of people that started the band, Joe, who was the original guitarist, who played in the band for like 5 or 6 years, he was like phenomenal, just a complete freak. And the rest of us had to keep up with him basically, and improve to kind of meet him even at half of his standard.
Hmm.
And being in a band with him, it it changed my understanding of music and playing music with other people. And I think it's just one of those things, and I think a lot of people that play in bands would say this. It's just a complete luck of the draw that we met each other, and that we were in the same year at school and got into the same thing, and that our paths crossed. But yeah, he was like a classically trained guitarist, and I think for him, he was more into like that side of it, and was like, a classical kind of acoustic guitar, and his approach to heavy music was different because of that. Like, he would get into certain other heavy bands because of the way that, yeah, and he would be bringing different influences to rehearsals and more into kind of the prog stuff, whereas myself and our drummer were kind of more typically into like punk hardcore, post hardcore, metalcore stuff. That was like more our bag, and I think it was where those kind of two worlds sort of met
Hmm.
that led to us sounding the way that we did. But yeah, honestly, I would put a lot of the early stuff down to Joe, who was the original guitarist, just because it was he was writing like the bulk of it at the time, and like I said, he was just so good that the rest of us had to like really keep up pace to even be able to play along with him. It was really cool. Like, it made 100% made me a better musician.
So he was the one that was like kind of the influence on a lot of, especially in that first album. There's a lot of jazzy, mathy
Hmm.
elements, and I'm guessing that was all him.
100%. Yeah. Like the kind of sort of noisier, like ambient, big, open spaces, and like obviously keyboard parts. I'm the keyboard player in the band. That was definitely my contribution to it. And I think it was the mixture of those two things that definitely was maybe what made our band stand out a little bit. Like, a bunch of bands that kind of do the mathy technical jazzy thing. Maybe not as young as we were at the time, obviously, but I think it was the other elements of everything kind of coming together that sort of made what we did a bit more unique.
At what point did you realize that you like, especially with Eva, like at what point did you realize that she was truly special? Because I mean, I will definitively say she's probably one of the greatest metal screamers and just like generally singers I've ever heard. And like I'm sure early on you all knew like we can't just let her, like we got to make sure that like she's like we're highlighting her vocals
Mhm.
because she really truly is next level special talent.
I mean, I think it was only really like probably 3 albums in that I think that she really found her voice, and
Mm.
especially with the singing. But again, that kind of change that came with a change of personnel and the change of the material, and like giving her, like you said, just giving her space to sing and to like really sort of highlight both. Um, I mean, I think like again, we were so young. I always thought we were good, and like I was like so cocky and confident, and I think it was like it was the kind of thing, that kind of bravado that comes from being that young and kind of almost being a bit more bulletproof, because like maybe when you're sort of in your mid 20s, you're a little bit more I don't know. I think you care a bit about more about what people say and what people think about you, and
Hmm.
I think when you're that age, it things just bounce off of you a lot more. And we would be turning up and playing certain shows with like people that were 10, 15 years older than us, and just like being so, yeah, I remember just feeling so cocky about it, and just being like, yeah, we're gonna go and do our thing, and like I don't care what anyone thinks or whatever. And I think I had that kind of confidence because I believed so much in everyone that I was playing in the band with, and like I loved so much what we were doing. I don't want to sound like it's necessarily just an arrogance thing. I think it was more because we were kind of it, whenever people wrote about us early on, it was like very much, oh, they're so young, they're kids, they're so young, they're kids. And I think that was like, no, like we belong here as well. Like, don't treat us any differently. Like, and yeah, I think just seeing the reaction that she got, and also like I suppose when you're in it at the time, I'm not looking at Eva and being like, oh, it's a tiny 16-year-old girl. It's like, where's my sister? Like, it doesn't look weird to me because I've always been in a band with her and like I know who she is. And to me, it's not weird that she can do it. Like I was, very sort of like, yeah, happy and impressed. And I think what she contributes is awesome. But I think when you've kind of been around, yeah, to me, it's always just felt like normal. Like, yeah,
Mm.
I don't know any different. Like, I've been playing in a band with her forever, and even before then, she's always been in my life. So, yeah,
Hmm.
I think I just back her. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I feel like your guys' run has been so intriguing because it has developed in so many different ways. That those first couple records, I would agree. I mean, just like you're saying, they sound cocky. Like I don't think it's just you. I think it actually like comes through in the records. And as time goes on, it feels like it actually backs off a little bit more. It allows much more space to breathe in every instrument,
Yeah.
really. And all of you are highlighted. It's not just Eva. It's everybody. And I'm really really a big fan of where you guys have taken things in these newer records especially are man, I can't stop listening to them myself because it does feel like it's a full experience.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I think we kind of reached a point with the sound where it was like, and I feel like this about technical music in general. It's a lot of the time it's like it's impressive, but after being impressive, it can kind of leave you a bit cold, and it's not necessarily
Mm,
something you want to go back to. And like, I can watch someone play guitar and be like, "Wow, you're a great guitarist," but like, if it's not doing anything, if it's not speaking to me, if it's not making me feel anything, then it like, yeah, well done. Like, I I don't know, and I kind of started to feel like that about certain elements of what we were doing in that like it was really really cool that it kind of established us as a band, and it was this thing that kind of made us stand out and made people pay attention ultimately, and maybe like gained us an audience to begin with. But I think as I was kind of growing up while I was in the band and my tastes were changing, like I always wanted the music that we were making to be reflective of what I was into, and to be doing something that I felt passionate about. So I mean, just for the most part, so it didn't come across as being disingenuous, because I don't think you can make music like this unless you kind of well into it and like you believe what you're putting out really. So for me, like, yeah, it's been the last three records, the ones that I'm most proud of. Definitely, I think they're the most reflective of my tastes, and I think they kind of came the closest to how I'd wanted the band to sound for the last however amount of time. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad to hear that it's kind of resonated with you as well. It's like it's what I like the most about doing it. It's the material that we play the most. But at the same time, I don't just want to sort of completely dismiss what happened early on, because it was, yeah, it was what kind of laid the foundations for what we were able to do now.
absolutely.
For sure. Yeah, I will say I think you guys have just aged like fine wine, to be honest. I actually really do appreciate the way you all started out with that kind of sound and style. But the direction that you guys have all gone, especially over the last couple albums, I'm like, this is such a great kind of growth, or at least I see it as like a total growth in your musicianship.
Thanks very much. And I think like that's quite a nice thing as well with being a band that has, I guess, stuck it out and been around a little bit longer. I think that our audience has kind of, in a lot of instances, aged at the same, at the same rate that we are, and their tastes have changed at the same kind of way that ours has. And yeah, it's good to sort of feel that we're making something that it has relevance in people's lives, and that it does kind of hits the mark in that way. I mean, I think
Yeah.
we would do it regardless of whether it was relevant to other people or not, because we
Right.
like it so much. But it is, I don't mind the validation. It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Something that's kind of interesting about y'all's history is, a lot of bands that were maybe coming out around that time, mid to late 2000s in that kind of heavy music scene. At some point maybe they went all in for a few years and then kind of maybe like fizzled out, or they needed to take like a hiatus at some point. And what's interesting about you all is it seems like pretty every consistently like 2 or 3 years there's just a new album, and y'all will tour a little bit, and it's just, but there just feels like there's this consistency to it that has, and my projection or my interpretation of that is that it seems pretty healthy. Like you all are generally in a pretty healthy place over the course of your history, and you haven't needed that like, okay, we need to like get away from each other
Yeah.
at certain points. I don't know. I'm curious like what your reflections are on that, because it does seem like every 2 or 3 years we can expect like a really great album and some touring on it, and it just feels like it's something that's really sustainable for you all.
I think sustainable is kind of the key word, and I think we probably had like lineup changes at exactly the right moments where there may have been like one person that wasn't kind of feeling it that sort of was able to sort of step away, and we were able to refresh the kind of personnel in the band in a way that like brought exactly the right energy we needed to continue it. I think so much of wanting to continue it is a constant belief that we can make a better record than the previous one, or at least that we have something that we think we can offer. And like you said, I think for us it's always been paced quite nicely. I think we never have felt the need to rush another record out because there's this like momentum that we kind of need to keep up. I think at this point in we have an established audience, and it's a relatively captive audience, and they're going to want to listen to what we put out, and I know that they'll wait for it at this point as well. Like we don't have to rush to get something out to sort of make sure people don't forget about us. I also feel probably within the last 10 years at least, most of us have we have like established careers outside of the band, and we've sort of it was kind of like a constant battle to begin with to make sure that we can make everything kind of work in harmony, and that people could have like a life and the band could be part of that life but not consume all consuming, and that we were on tour 9 months a year or whatever.
Mm.
So I feel like we've sort of found this balance where we tour a handful of times a year when there's a record out, and then that might be like 2.5 years, then we'll take a bit of a break, we'll kind of regroup, see how we feel, and everyone sort of is doing the band because they want to do it, not because they need to do it. And I think it's a really important distinction, and something that definitely causes some bands to sort of fizzle out is that they need it, and that might mean that they're kind of putting out albums they're not happy with, making decisions that are sort of like business based and maybe not sensible ones. And we've never been in that position. And maybe that's because there was never really an option for us to go like full time with it or whatever. But we find ourselves in a nice position where we're able to come and play shows in the US and play shows in the UK and travel like globally if we want to, because the option's there to do it. And that's like, yeah, I don't take that for granted, basically.
Mm. Something I've always been curious about, especially in very technical bands such as yourself, I feel like the songwriting process has to be completely different than, if you're a Green Day kind of band where, it's three chords and, a dust cloud behind you. This is a lot different, right? And you have a lot more moving parts and so many more layers. What would you think is a good way to explain how the songwriting process works? Maybe in comparison to, your typical hardcore band, let's say.
I guess like yes, so much of the songwriting that is done out of the room. So like when we kind of, I think some bands would come together and rehearse, and they would, I don't know, like jam out an idea, and it would sort of happen, yeah, like on the spot. Maybe someone would bring an idea in and they would kind of play around with it. I think so much of the writing that we have to do is in isolation. Some like there'll be a couple of people that kind of contribute the bulk of the ideas that will form a song, and they might work on that and really refine it to a point where it's kind of at a stage when they're happy for someone else, even within the band, to hear it. And then over time, we will piece it together and arrange the music together. Like I think we write ideas separately. We write music as a group, in that everyone kind of has their say in terms of the arrangements. But there'll be like a lot of time where it'll be either myself or Chris, our guitarist, who will be working on music sort of independently. One other person might come in and kind of write with them. And then when we're sort of at a point where it feels like there's enough material, we'll then start arranging songs together.
Mm.
And I think that, yeah, some of that is down to kind of the technical aspects of it. If you're working on something that's in, I don't know, like a time signature that someone's not really going to be able to just jam along to, you kind of need to like refine that a little bit, at least until it's at a point where you feel comfortable explaining what it is. And sometimes that's easier to do with like a demo that you've written on your own with programmed drums, and then our drummer can then write his own drum part that sort of at least allows him to kind of like have creative license. I mean, I think maybe I've explained it in a bit of a cold way that would suggest that it's like, oh, two of us are bringing in ideas and everyone learns it. It's not how it goes. Like there'll sort of be like a development of an idea, and then everyone will kind of come in, have their say on it. We'll kind of change elements of it together. But yeah, it can be like a long process, a lot of demoing, a lot of like writing independently, a lot of sending ideas back and forth because most of us live in different towns, different parts of the UK now, Eva's in the US. So yeah, it can be quite like labored to get to a point where we're all going to be in a room to be able to play things together. And again, I think we know that the time together is so precious because it is hard to get everyone's diaries to match up and people have to travel, that we have to have like an amount of prepared material to work on rather than just being like, well, let's get together for 3 hours and see what happens. Like it just wouldn't work. Yeah.
Sure. Has that changed then as time has gone on, especially with you guys separating out to different towns and even different countries? Like, have you guys streamlined that process more so that you can get down to work a lot quicker?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, like we've gotten a lot more proactive with just recording like everything, and a lot of, yeah, just making sure that like something is, I don't know, good enough to share with people, just so you're not wasting their time, I suppose. Like I think again we've written so much together that most of us kind of know in our heart of hearts if something is good enough or is going to kind of make the cut. We've always been quite good at like trimming the fat, and we're not the kind of band that will go into a studio and record 15 songs for a 10-track album. Like if we're going in to record 10 songs, we've written 10 songs because we've kind of done that as we've been writing. Like we'll know when to give up on something. Like if it doesn't come together, it like in a particular way, like yeah, we know just to just completely abandon an idea. And I think that is what you're saying. Maybe yeah, it's not necessarily something I can articulate. It's more just like when you hear something's not working, it's not working. And I
Sure.
guess that's something that comes with experience.
Sure. Makes sense.
Sort of speaking on the writing process here, is there a moment in this band's history where you maybe feel the most proud of how you all wrote? Maybe not even maybe necessarily one particular song, but maybe even a specific moment within a song. Like, is there a moment where you think like when you think back to this band and you're like, God, that like the way we did that, the way we wrote that, the way we crafted that, the way we like developed that is like that's how I wish every moment felt like. And obviously, not every moment can feel like that. But yeah, I'm curious if there's like kind of this sort of most proud moment that you have when it comes to writing even a particular part of a song.
There's two instances that I can think of. One was on our most recent record, and it was the opening track, Almost Always, and I'd written it in a way that I thought was this was an instance when I'd completely written a song on my own, and we'd taken it into the room, and it just wasn't working. And like I was really happy with the demo, but the others were just kind of like, why don't we try it like this? And we completely deconstruct. And again, this kind of goes against everything that I've just said to you, but we completely deconstructed it on the spot. And we're like, okay, let's do this entire section without drums. And we kind of like really, really stripped back the first half of the song until it became something completely different. And it was just one of those instances where I felt everyone had their say on exactly what was going on. And they like made an idea that I was happy with anyway, like probably my favorite song that we've written now.
Mm.
And we took it into the studio, and like afterwards I was just like when we had the finished thing, it was like, wow, I cannot imagine this any other way. That is like easily my favorite song that I've kind of been a part of writing. And it was all because of this instance where someone was like, let's try it this way, like, and had the kind of, I don't know, it just felt super organic, and it kind of came together in a really, really cool way that I can remember the rehearsal, like as yeah. And that was a few years ago now. But another instance, there's a song called "A Flood of Light" on "Time Will Die and Love Will Bury It," and again, we just that song is actually kind of like, I guess it's relatively simplistic. There's like maybe four parts to it, and they repeat a lot, and it's more about the dynamics and the way we kind of bring it up and down. And again, I remember we were rehearsing a practice space in Brighton, and there's a lot of different rooms there, and it's the kind of place that you can go and you can kind of just be walking down the halls, and there's so much different stuff going on constantly. It's like very easy to kind of get distracted, and just you hear it in an indie band, and there's like a jazz band somewhere, and it's just like a lot of noise. But we were playing this song and we were playing the sort of the big open section at the end of it. And I remember even then just thinking like, I think like we've written something really, really cool here. And we came out and like one of the guys working on the desk was just like, with so many people asking like who was rehearsing in there today because like they loved what they heard coming from it. And I remember feeling so flattered and that just being like, okay, cool. I think we've like, yeah, there's something really, really good has happened today. And like, yeah, the song like just didn't change at all. We recorded exactly what how it was written first time. And yeah, it felt really, really special to kind of in like a place where there's so much going on, like so much music that a few people had like walked past and asked like, who's that rehearsing? It's like, yeah, it felt really nice.
Like that. It seems like you're very intentional about what you like and what you want to bring to the creative process. When you're thinking about the next songs, the next place to find inspiration, where are you digging in? Where are you pulling out? Because I feel like as a keys guy, right, you're gonna have a whole lot more freedom of choice compared to a drummer, for instance. There's just so much more at your disposal in terms of different textures you can use and everything. So where do you go to try to find that inspiration for where you want to take things next?
It's a good question, and I think it's one that I'm kind of struggling with at the moment. But we, so I mean, I'll talk about the last record at least to kind of give context for some new material that we've already worked on. So like a big feature of where Myth Becomes Memory was the sort of very heavily felted piano sounds on it, and that was something. So like we prepared a piano in that we put like an extra layer of felt between the hammers and the strings, and we put mics on the hammers, so you kind of get this like really sort of, I don't know, like mechanical, and it kind of gives the piano like a lot of character and like really does a lot to the dynamics. And that was like heavily influenced by a lot of piano players, like a lot of modern contemporary classical musicians like Hugh Baving, Hani Arani, Oliver Arnold, Nils Fromm, and I listen to a lot of keyboard and piano based music, and I wanted to try and bring that into what we were doing with Rolo and make it work in a way that was gonna sound cohesive on a record. And it was definitely a bit of a challenge, like kind of taking that to Lewis, who produced the last three records that we've done, and being like, I want the pianos to sound like this, but it's got to fit in with the rest of the band. And obviously there's like crazy amount of dynamics, and we want it to be really heavy, but we also want it to be really gentle and all of this. And like he was a complete wizard and is able to kind of like see the finished picture even before we can, which is great. Like, you need someone like that when you're trying to tie a lot of ideas together. So we finished that record and like that was all good. And there's a lot of really cool feedback about the way the piano sounds. But then to me, it was like, well, we did it. Like we completed that sound, and like I want to move forward with material, and like I love playing piano, but like I can't do any of that again because it feels like we took it to the sort of nth degree, and anything else would just sort of feel like a bit, I don't know, we were just recycling the same ideas.
Sure.
So we have written and recorded a new 4-track EP that's going to come out later this year. And with that, it's super heavy, it's super aggressive. I'd say like the keys and the synths are definitely sort of more like industrial, kind of like heavy electronics sort of thing. It kind of like night and day with regards to like a piano. And I think in terms of the way that we approached that, it was very much like, what is the furthest away from that we can get in terms of, or at least in terms of my contribution was like, what is the furthest away from that we can get? Like there's maybe like there's one piano sound on there, but rather than being the kind of very delicate felted thing, it's like a really crunchy, distorted piano with that was like, I don't know, filtered through this like amp preset on the Nord that I use to make it super crunchy and just sound far away from that, because it is just about like you said, like finding the next thing. And I think you have to sort of I don't know, like, yeah, reflect on what you've done in order to figure out what that next step's going to be. And for us, it is always about sort of pushing on to something different.
I love the idea of like having some sort of industrial sound with with the sound that you guys have already created. Like I love that layer. I'm just like imagining what that could be right now, but that sounds super sick.
Cool. Yeah, I'm really happy with it. It's gonna I hope people are gonna like check it out and be into it. But we're very, very proud of it. Yeah.
Does it feel like something that like could eventually turn into a whole album? You said that you've got a 4-song EP that will be coming out. Does it feel like something that could be extended into a more full-length project at some point?
Oh, definitely. Like I think we've always sort of got one eye on more new material. I think the plan is definitely we've got these live commitments this year, which we're very excited about. Like we have Furnace Fest. There's a couple of shows in the UK. We're doing a festival in Canada, and we've not been there before, and that's great. Um, and I'm definitely sort of at a point where I'm kind of like trying to coming through like ideas that I've had that haven't like made it onto releases recently, and I'm not like there's when I go back to old ideas, it's very much, well, there's a reason that you've not used this yet, right? Like it couldn't kind of get to that point. So I'm just trying to like mine what's already there to see if I kind of missed anything. Like I kind of keep a lot of like handwritten notebooks, and I've just been sort of like revisiting all of that just to see what kind of gets me going. And there's like a few things that I've kind of lifted out already and been like, okay, that could be pretty cool. And also as well, we wrote a piece of music for a film, like for a short film recently, and I think that like again has kind of like got everyone going creatively in a way that's like, oh, it's pretty good writing music together, isn't it? Like I think you kind of need those like things sometimes because we didn't play a lot live last year. So yeah, I think I can definitely see in time there'll be an appetite for kind of everyone to kind of get together and work on something that's a bit more of like a full-bodied project for sure.
Sure. When you write, I got to ask about this because it's kind of curious. We don't have a whole lot of bands that come on writing music for a film. Is that a completely different process? Like, do they come to you and say, hey, this is kind of what we're aiming for. This is the kind of like build up we want, or this is kind of emotion that's going to be in the scene. Or is it something where they pick something out from your catalog and they say, hey, we want something like this for this scene?
So in this like really specific instance, the person that's directing and producing the film, he's like a really old friend of ours. He's an Italian who lives in London. We met him on a tour that we did playing in Italy like 15 years ago, and we kind of just stayed in contact. And I'd seen him like a handful of times over the last like 5 years or so. Excuse me. And he just reached out and was like, I've been working on like some short films. Like I knew he was making film. And he's like, and I've had this idea that like the peak of this film is going to be basically a metal band. And it was sort of with this in mind, it was very much, can you write a conventional Rolo Tomassi song for my film? Like I'm going to pick these two out. Like I really like the energy of these songs. Can you do something that sounds like this and this? It wasn't necessarily creating like original soundtrack kind of stuff, and we weren't having to match what the emotion of a scene or whatever. It was just like, can you write a song for the film? But still, like, it was very much, it's got to be this amount of time. Like, it's got a sort of peak here. And it was cool having, like, a brief in that respect. But it was just like writing one of our own songs ultimately. And we just finished working on that yesterday, like, in terms of, like, the mixing and stuff. And it's quite surreal because, like, he had to get actors in that could play instruments to kind of play it, and like we had to kind of like give them tabs and stuff. And I think the really funny thing with it was like it was filmed to like a demo that we'd written with like programmed drums, and we saw like a cut of a bunch of actors playing this song that we'd written before we even played it together. Like it was like absolutely bizarre. Like it was just Chris and I that had written it together. We'd like kind of done all these parts, and there's like a drummer that could play it before our drummer could, and like just quite a strange experience. But writing for film is something that or for TV or just soundtracks generally is something that I can see a future in that for our band and for the kind of music that we do, and it's something we definitely want to explore more. It was really, really nice to have the first experience doing it with a friend, and I'm kind of hoping that it definitely sort of gives us a bit of a platform to kind of build on with that in mind.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys can be like the Mogwai of the metal world.
Yeah, something like that for sure.
Yeah. Seems like every other year they've got a soundtrack coming out.
Yeah,
so.
definitely.
It definitely makes sense with you guys' band, though. I mean, obviously, you guys aren't a post-rock band, but there's so many like kind of post-rock type of elements going on,
Yeah.
at least in terms of the sort of soundscapes that you guys create, where it's like, yeah, it totally makes sense that there
Yeah.
at least maybe is some sort of soundtrack potential with this band.
I hope so, and I definitely think that, like you said, it's just there's this kind of like post, just generally sort of influences within it. That's like a lot of like the textural, I don't know, dreamy kind of elements to it that I think could work. It's just trying to convince someone to let us do it.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
Well, you guys, I was going to talk about Furnace Fest. Is
sweet.
that
Yeah,
what
I
you're
was
gonna
going to
go
talk
with?
Furnace Fest, and then but you go. You go ahead.
Great.
Awesome.
Great, let's do it. So, obviously, you mentioned Furnace Fest just a bit ago. That's why we brought you on here to talk about Furnace Fest. We're going to be, you're actually the first episode of all the Furnace Fest artists that we're going to interview for this year's Furnace Fest. So we're super stoked. I know you guys have never been to Furnace Fest before. This will be Cullen and I's 5th year
Wow.
of Furnace Fest. We're lifers at this point,
I was gonna
or
say
at least
veterans. Yeah.
lifers for the second half
right.
of Furnace Fest. Yeah, we're really big fans of the festival, and so we're really stoked. So yeah, what can fans expect at Furnace Fest for this year? Yeah, what are you looking forward to with Furnace Fest this year? Yeah, I'm just curious.
I mean, we're just so excited to get to come and be a part of this. I think as someone that has kind of grown up like loving American like music that's come out of the States and definitely like heavier music, I think the UK has always looked to America and kind of events like Furnace Fest and Hellfest and like Warp Tour and that kind of thing. That these are sort of the things you kind of put on a pedestal, and to be able to get to come and be a part of it is just yeah, it's incredibly cool, like a dream, kind of dream come true kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, in terms of what people can expect, potentially some new material. I mean, we're going to be coming out like just swinging and playing like a very energetic festival set. Ultimately, I think most of the time when we've toured, at least the last couple of tours we've done in the US, has been sort of their headline set that we would do, which is definitely a bit more attention is kind of paid to like pacing and like dynamics and kind of the way the set flows and everything. And that's great. And like I like playing like that, but I also love turning up at a festival and just coming out swinging with all like the big heavy hitters and getting to do that. So yeah, I mean that's definitely what I've got in mind at least. It's going to be great. Like we're so excited. The lineup is brilliant. We've heard nothing but good things about the festival from friends that have played it. So yeah, it's going
Yeah.
to be cool.
I would argue it's very different from any other festival, just in terms of its ethos. It's a very, it feels so much more homemade, homespun.
Cool.
I don't know how else
Nice.
to say that. How else would you say it, Mason? Folksy, I guess you could say. Not,
Sure,
not,
I
not,
mean,
not in terms of like the music style, but folksy
right.
is in like,
It's not Pete Seeger, but
yeah,
But there's very few festivals where the organizers of the festivals are going to be stage diving throughout the weekend.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
this is a festival where the organizers, you will see them at some point be stage diving. That's just part of who this festival is, and that's part of the reason that I love it so much. Like, it doesn't feel like somebody who's just trying to like get a money grab in the
Sure.
music industry or whatever. Like, these are people who genuinely love this music. They're friends with a lot of these people, and they just want to see a festival with like all of their favorite bands.
yeah,
Amazing. No, I'd love to hear that. It's very cool.
yeah, yeah. We're very
So-
very excited. When Mason and I heard that Rolo Tomassi was going to be there, we were ecstatic.
Yeah, we were through the moon for it. Well, I'm guessing, since I mean you guys are traveling quite a ways, I would imagine like you're not only going to be there for one day or for 30 minutes for your set. Like, are you going to try to see any other sets while you're there, or yeah,
Oh,
what's your plan?
I mean, the plan is to be there for the whole weekend. Yeah, and
Oh yeah,
to watch as much as possible. I mean, it's kind of cool. I think the days are definitely kind of split by the headliners. You can tell it's been booked kind of like top down, and it kind of all makes sense. The Sunday definitely kind of speaks to me the most. Very
same.
much looking forward to seeing Knock Loose headliner festival. I'm trying to think who else is playing off the top of my head now. I mean, Converge. I will jump at any opportunity to see them.
Mhm.
There's just so much that I know I'm going to be into. There's another band from the UK actually called Delta Sleep. They're playing on the Friday, I think, or the Saturday. I mean, they're playing across the weekend, and it was really nice seeing, yeah, another band from the UK that was on it. I know that like typically year on year there's like at least one or two, but it was like nice that it was some people that we know. So that's
Mhm.
going to be yeah, just a bit of a novelty getting to hang out like at a festival in the US, like yeah, with people that we know from home. It's like it's nice. I just I love the kind of atmosphere that you kind of get at those festivals.
I would imagine you guys have toured in the American South before. What is it that you're looking forward to the most when you head back to the deep South in America? Like, is there a particular gas station you're looking forward to going to, or is there a particular fast food restaurant that you're looking forward to go to? What is it that you're looking forward to going back to the deep South in America?
Honestly, I think I'm looking forward to people saying y'all with conviction and like actually meaning
With
it and like
conviction.
it just sounding right. Like I think it warms my heart. Like the first time like I heard someone actually say that for real and was like, oh my God, like you're allowed to say that. You're from America was brilliant. So yeah, kind of being in that part of the world and hearing the wonderful accent is going to be enough. I mean, I guess the gas station you're referring to would probably be, I don't know if, is there Buc-ee's in Alabama?
Yeah.
Bucky's, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I'm gonna definitely be getting some beaver nugs at some point then. But
Yeah.
yeah,
There you go.
Yeah.
yeah.
I do like that you said that about the accent, because Mason and I we're central north. So we are on the Great Plains, far away from the American South. And when we go to the American South, one of the first things that we love to hear is the y'all. Because
Oh,
it is so heartwarming. It just
yeah.
feels, or bless your soul, when they say
Oh,
bless your
oh,
soul. Oh my
honestly,
gosh.
like it's terrific and it's said with such sincerity in a way that like I feel like a lot of people that would try and do that accent just yeah, the sincerity just isn't there. And yeah,
That's right.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is one of the most like just welcoming, homey accents that there is, at
Hmm.
least among English accents for sure.
Agreed.
Love
Yeah.
it. Well, James, let's talk about your top 5 most influential albums. I don't know if there's a particular order you want to do it chronologically. Maybe you actually have it like, all right, this is like my top album of all time. But yeah, just would love to hear those top 5 most influential albums. And by the way, just looking at your Wikipedia and seeing some of those influences, and I'm guessing not all of those influences are just yours, but a number of those influences, I'm guessing, might be thrown into this top 5 list. So, but I'm looking forward to this.
It's possible, and I think this is the kind of answer that on any day of the week, depending on who was asking, I would always give like a slightly varied answer. There are a couple that
Mm-hmm.
will always be in it, like irrespective. Um, I mentioned them earlier. Jane Doe by Converge is like would be front and center of any of it. Like yeah,
Yeah,
it's. I think
one of
yeah,
the best, one of the best albums of all time.
I'm not sure I can add anything more to the kind of conversation around that. It's just yeah, it, the greatest. Converge by Jane Doe. Relationship of Command by The Drive-In,
Mm.
which I probably got into a little bit before that. That was very much like a gateway into much heavier music for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm gonna go with Before the Dawn Heals Us by M83. It's like
Oh yeah.
Oh,
very
I
synth
think we might be
heavy.
the same person, by the way.
Oh, cool. I mean, yeah, feel free to keep in touch. We'll send each other some
So
music
so far, so
recommendations.
far, I
Yeah,
think we're
yeah.
the same person.
Cool. And then it's the last two that I think are the ones that vary quite a lot. Like I think you can, those three is basically my contributions to our band are kind of all based around those three things. So today, for the last two, I'm going to go with In a Safe Place by the album Leaf. Um,
Love it.
Oh,
Love the album Leaf.
yeah,
I don't think we've ever gotten an album
We have
leaf
not
before,
had
but
an album leaf on here.
that is a great call.
Yeah.
it's a perfect 10. Like, honestly, I was really lucky. I got to see that played in full at a church in London a couple of years ago. And
Wow.
it's just spectacular. I listen to that all the time. It's on like such regular rotation. I think it's aged flawlessly and is so understated. Kind of like post rock that gets to the point, like quite
Yeah.
quickly. It's not like labored. Just a very good record. And number 5, this is yeah, maybe the tricky one. The well, not necessarily tricky. It's just the one that kind of fluctuates the most. I'm going to go with an album by an Italian band called La Quiete, and the album is called La Fine non alla fine. That album was put out 2005. The band broke up a little while ago, or just stopped being active. But basically, they've reformed this year. I'm going to go see them play in Italy in like 2 weeks. Like I bought tickets
Oh
as soon as
wow.
I heard that they were reforming. They're only doing shows in Italy at the moment, at least. So I booked flights, got tickets, and I cannot wait to see them play. It's a perfect record. And again,
What kind of music are they?
I guess like screamo, as I would describe it, kind of
Oh,
similar to stuff like American bands like Seisha and Jerome's Dream and
Sure.
that kind
okay.
of like late 90s screamer, but they're kind of like part of a next wave of like European bands that did it. And like for me, they're the best like example of a European like modern screamer band. Like often imitated, never kind of bettered.
Sure.
I would definitely
Hmm.
recommend checking it out. There's like a remastered version of the record that's just been released. Like they've done like a 20th anniversary thing, and it's gone up
Oh yeah.
on streaming platforms recently. It's very, very good.
Are all their lyrics in Italian as
Yeah,
well?
yeah.
I love when bands actually like hold true to that.
Yeah, I remember seeing them play a few times way back when, and a couple of I think the vocalist couldn't speak much English at the time, and it was like just all. I mean, it kind of made you focus on just the performance even more. But like they were
Yeah.
Right.
so good, and I can't wait to see them play their songs again.
You
Sick.
guys should release an album that's like all in Old English.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely hinge on me learning some old English first. I mean, yeah, ye olde Tomassi, like that kind of yeah,
I'd be all over that. I think that'd be fun.
cool.
All right. So there's one more thing I want to ask you because you guys are from Sheffield, right?
It's where
Area?
we grew up. Yeah, yeah. I've not lived
Okay.
there for a very long time, but
Okay. Do you still have what would be considered a Sheffield accent?
not even close. I don't think I've
Not
ever
even
had one.
close.
No, I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
so my parents aren't from there. They moved there like 6 months before I was born. So
Sure.
I'm a bit sort of like either neutral or mongrel. I don't know how you would describe my accent. It's just yeah,
The
it's not
neutral or the mongrel. There you go. Okay.
not really much of anything, but yeah.
Sure, sure. So, what are maybe some slang terms that are used regionally near the Sheffield area that are unique to that area? Because I know that England especially, or the UK, I should say, has very, very, very distinct dialectal differences and
Of
slang
course.
differences, right?
I mean, I guess like the band that has sort of championed Sheffield the most would probably be the Arctic Monkeys.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I don't think this is necessarily like something that's just very specific to Sheffield. But if someone is like grumpy, like, and the Arctic Monkeys have a song called Mardy Bum, and
Yeah.
that is
Love that song.
like, yeah, Mardy is like if you're being grumpy, like stop being Mardy. Like that's definitely something that is to do with Sheffield. I'm so pathetic. I've had to Google this, and I'm kind of doing it while we're on the call, just to kind of just to give myself a bit of a refresh.
Sure.
There's some great examples on here as well. I'm just trying to like, I mean, the one that comes up, and I guess this is like an old English thing and would have like regional differences. If it's like just a different word for nothing, and it's like nout.
Nout.
So,
hmm.
and again, I've said it because it's always really good hearing Americans say it, but yeah, NOWT, nout.
Nout.
Yeah.
Now,
And then like, so nout is nothing, but then out is anything. So like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to do you want out from the shop? Like, yeah, it's like, yeah,
I love those goofy little ones. Every
totally.
place has them. The place that Mason lives has some very, very fun ones that make absolutely no sense whatsoever.
like what? Hot dish?
Hot dish or duck duck gray duck instead of duck duck
Oh,
goose
that's
and
true.
all that fun stuff.
Okay,
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, good stuff. But all right, well, what would you like to plug? Got a lot of things
What
on the docket. It looks like here. So
what would I like to plug? I would like to plug an album that I was listening to earlier. So there is a band from Madrid called Crossed. They released an album earlier called Realismo Ausente, and their bass player is a good friend of ours. He's someone that's done a lot of artwork for us in the past. He's a tattoo artist, and yeah, he's been amazing to work with. His band is sick, and they just put out a great record like yesterday. So I definitely encourage anyone to listen to that.
killer. What's the name of the film that you guys are scoring, or does it not have a name yet?
I think I don't know if the title is finished yet. Like we'll post details on it
Sure.
when it's up. But yeah, it's a short film. Should be like out later this year, I think.
Killer.
Yeah.
And it sounds like an EP eventually as well, sometime this year.
Yeah. Just finishing the final details for it, but yeah, it will come out at some point in 2025 for sure.
Beautiful.
Love it.
Beautiful.
Love it. James, anything else you'd like to plug?
So I would like to plug that I was an extra in the British comedy series, The In-Betweeners. It's like sort of
really?
it's sort of this
No way.
it's like a comedy series that's almost like, to me as someone from the UK, it feels more like a documentary on like how life at high schools actually is. And I was kind of like the right age at the time to be cast in one of the scenes there. So if you watch really careful, I think it's season 2, episode 5, you can kind of see me in the background at a scene when they're all in the pub together.
Do you remember what you're doing? Are you just drinking, or are you
Just drink.
singing,
It's very much like background stuff. I'm just probably there, just like nursing a beer, like trying not to desperately or awkwardly look at the camera.
I would think
it'd be hard not to
impossible.
just like constantly wink at the camera.
But this is it. I'm not a trained actor. It was just right place, right time, and they just kind of they just needed people cast that were kind of roughly the age that they're trying to portray. And that was me.
Love it. We just talked to the guys from Bury Tomorrow. We talked to them a couple days ago, who are also
literally yesterday, 24 hours ago.
Yeah, it was 24 hours ago, and they were extras, not extras.
Or sort of an extra,
yeah,
kind of an extra,
kind of an extra.
on Ted Lasso.
Yeah, Ted Lasso.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a busker, which is pretty fun.
Nice.
Clearly the metal scene in the UK, it just must not be as profitable as what I was anticipating. If you all are just having to go on all these other British TV shows to make some extra money.
It's the acting side hustle. It's entertainment. The two industries kind of act in tandem. So it's as long as you meet kind of the right casting agents, it's an easy thing to sort out.
It's a small world over there in the on the Isles.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
Across the pond. I had to get one of those in there.
Yeah, I was waiting for it. Yeah.
Well done for trying. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
when you take off on that plane, I would expect when you head out to Furnace Fest, I would hope there's at least one across the pond joke that's made as you're flying over the Atlantic.
I mean, I'm definitely going to remember that, and I'll make sure it happens.
Yeah.
That's what I love to see.
Yeah. In honor of this, I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to make some chipped beef in your honor. So.
Love it.
Good stuff.
James, thank you so much for chatting more about Rolo Tomassi. Again, just a band that even though they're sort of newer to me, you guys are just like quickly becoming one of my favorite bands. Just again, like literally one of my most listened to bands over the last few years. So thanks so much for chatting more about it. And we're so stoked to see you at Furnace Fest, and hopefully we get to say hi.
Thanks so much, guys. It's been really nice talking to both of you. Thanks for the kind words, and looking forward to seeing you at Furnace Fest. And be well until then.